You wake up, not to a gentle dawn or soft light slipping through curtains, but to darkness, damp air, and the sound of rats skittering beneath what passes for your bed. Straw sacks stuffed into wooden frames, bedding a cradle for lice and the very rodents that nibble your fingers in the night. No mattress. Not really, just a heap of things that could claw you back if you dared to shift. It's before sunrise, there's no clock. Only the pre-dawn birds you can't see. And your mouth tastes like old ash. Your body aches, every joint stiff, every muscle sore. You've slept on cold wood. And the chill seeps into your bones like a lover you can't escape. The room smells of sweat, unwashed bodies, stale bread, animal waste, and an unfamiliar, sweet stench, someone's disease already testing your luck. You sit up and breathe the earthy, mucky air. You're alive, for now. You inch toward the corner. Grab the chamber pot, your substitute toilet. Used all night, unsanitary beyond comprehension. You step over refuse and animal droppings. Each step knowing your shoes won't last, you wear boots of leather, crudely stitched from the previous livestock slaughter. They're wet, smelling like vinegar and butchered hide. Nothing has changed overnight. There are no soft socks, no plush slippers, only the promise of another horrendous day. You stand in the door with no door, its boards gapped so wide that bats and birds nest in the rafters, and slip outside. It's early spring, maybe May. The earth is soft, the sky is gray, fog wisps swirl, snakes of mist that drift through trees and fields, seeping into your lungs. The only light is dull. The horizon a pale glow. A rooster crows, not one, but 3 times. The second crow sears into your head, the third makes you flinch. That's your alarm, sunrise. No time to stretch, no morning rituals. If you want bread, you knead yesterday's lumps into coal-hard dough, or steal what you can. There is no bakery, only a shared oven used by the Lord's people. If he's feeling generous, you might get a loaf if your daughter helped clean pigs or your son ignored the mistress's gaze long enough. If not, you steal stale bread from the hearth. By now your stomach growls like a wolf. Bread alone isn't enough. They say onions and coarse gruel are the salvation of the poor. So you head to the field with others, men, women, children, because the communal plowing doesn't wait. You pound through muddy rows with wooden hoes. Your clothes? A single tunic, threadbare, patched in places only you know. Washed? Once a season, maybe disguised with smoke or some herb. If the village healer is feeling generous. Around you, the field is alive, but not in a poetic way. It's buzzing with flies, heavy with sweat and the smell of animal dung. There's no distant hum of tractors or soothing morning songs. Only the grunt of labor, the squeal of hogs nearby, and the constant reminder of how little you own. A horn sounds, noon. Time for lunch. Kneel by a muddy ditch and bite into a chunk of cold gruel or hard bread. You wash it down with water from an open well. The water is clouded. People drank it anyway, trusting it more than the stream where livestock bathed. Soon, your stomach cringes, a prisoner to whichever microbe won. The rest of the day stretches ahead. You head back to the field. Sun climbs, clouds drift. By afternoon, you're bone tired. Sweat drips down your neck. Your hands are raw. A blister popped yesterday. Today, you work with the pain vibrating through your palm. You've no gloves. You've no choice. The Lord demands yield. You long for rain, but not too much, too much. And the crops rot, not enough. And famine. Later, you go to tend animals. Goats, sheep, a cow that gives milk, but you don't see your own kids share. That's for the mistress's table. You clean animal pens with a shovel, using the manure to fertilize the fields. It never leaves, it never washes off. Your face, your arms, your hair, they smell of ammonia, mud, and dry straw. You return home, a single-room hovel, fire pit in the middle. It's damp, cold, even in summer, and freezing in winter. You feed a pot of water with bits of leftover grain, roots, maybe a sliver of meat if you were paid in scraps. You blow on embers. Smoke fills the room. You cough. Sparks dance above you like fireflies in slow motion. You eat quietly. Your family sits across. Your children, 2 of them, watch you. Their clothes stink. Their smiles gone. You wonder how many of them will reach adulthood. Infant mortality is a phantom hovering at every cradle. They nibble. They swallow. But hunger wrings their bellies. After that, there's no leisure. You repair the roof where tiles fell in rain. You seal the cracks. You chase off pigs that wandered in. You spin wool, weave cloth, women do, so the children don't freeze. By night, you sit under flickering lamp made of animal fat. Someone reads psalms or prayers. Your eyes droop. Maybe you pray. Maybe you're too tired. You hear walls sigh. Your bed is straw. And again, you feel the same ache. You realize, this is your life. And tomorrow holds the same specter. No rest. No options. No safety. A cough could be plague. A cut. Infection. A strange fever. Typhoid. Dysentery. One missed day of work equals loss of food. One bad winter kills you. There is no healthcare. A barber surgeon might cut out an infected tooth with iron pliers. They rinse with wine. If it gets worse, they cut again. But there's no cure. Religion and prayer, not miracles. Your faith is a thread. As your head slides toward the ground, your body feels like it's slipping out of your clothes. You hope for sleep, the only escape. And as you drift, you wonder, how long until the cold bit too deep? The fever took hold, or someone accused your wife of witchcraft because she laughed too loud? This is the first glance, your morning, your labor, your evening, your death made ordinary. Welcome to the Middle Ages, harsh, relentless, without mercy. And yet they lived, they loved, they hoped. Now close your eyes, drift, because tomorrow, I'll show you the darker corners, the court intrigue, filth, cruelty that hides behind banners and tapestries. Evening settles over the village like a thick wool blanket, coarse, itchy, and full of things you'd rather not feel. The last light of the sun leaks through the smoke hole in your ceiling. Outside, the trees sigh under the weight of twilight. A dog barks. Someone coughs. You hear the squelch of hooves in mud, someone returning from the Lord's stables. Smelling of horse sweat and punishment. This is when it gets dangerous. By now, the village has gone quiet. Not peacefully, no. Silence here is never gentle. It means the watchmen are hiding from thieves. It means mothers hush crying children. Not because they're tired, but because they know what happens when soldiers pass through after ale and boredom. Darkness isn't just the absence of light, it's the return of fear. There are no street lamps, no night patrol, just the moon, if it shows up at all, and stars, if the clouds feel merciful. You don't walk alone at night. You don't stray from the path. There are wolves in the forest. Both the four-legged kind and the two-legged ones with swords and no masters. But let's say, for a moment, that you're a little higher up. Maybe you're not a peasant. Maybe you were born into the merchant class, or even into minor nobility. Congratulations, you're not immune. You may sleep on something softer. You may have a second shirt. You may even own a fork, if you're feeling fancy. But safety? No, that's a myth. You now live by a different kind of sword: politics, scandal, family feuds that stretch generations. People don't poison wells anymore, they poison goblets. Your friends are smiling assassins. Your rivals hide behind scrolls stamped with wax and sealed in deceit. A misplaced word, a gesture taken the wrong way, these can ruin your name. Your bloodline, your very right to walk the earth is anything more than a corpse waiting to happen. You wear layers of velvet and fur, but never feel warm. Castles are colder than you think. Stone breathes in winter, exhales into your bones. Fires don't reach corners. Wind snakes through cracks. Rats live under floorboards even here, fatter, bolder, more arrogant than their village cousins. The food? More elaborate, yes, but boiled meat still tastes like boiled meat. Even on gold plates, spices are hoarded like treasure. Salt is currency. And despite the finery, you still avoid drinking the water. You're not dying of starvation. True, but you might still die in childbirth. Or from a fever doctors can't name. Or from an infected wound. Because surgical tools are not much different from butcher's knives. If the local physician doesn't kill you with bad bloodletting, the barber might. And here's the thing about medicine, it was a gamble. You might be told to wear a dead toad around your neck. Or to drink mercury for your cough. You might be bled once a week just to keep the humors balanced. And if you had visions or seizures? A demon, clearly. The solution? Fire. Or cold iron. Or prayer, lots of prayer. But let's go back to the village. Because that's where most people lived. Not in castles, not in cities, but in little pockets of humanity carved from wilderness and hope. Daily life was a pattern of repetition and endurance. You worked, you hurt, you slept, You woke. The lucky ones had routines. The unlucky ones, well, they didn't last long. Festivals were brief interruptions in the monotony, bursts of color and sound and drink in madness. People danced around fires, wore masks, sang until their voices cracked. And for one night, they forgot the pain, until the sun rose, and the church bells tolled, and guilt returned like frost on morning grass. Religion was inescapable. You didn't question it, not openly, not if you valued your skin. Every moment was under divine surveillance, from your thoughts to your bowel movements. Priests warned of damnation. Monks copied scripture in silence, bending their backs in dim candlelight for decades. The church wasn't just a place. It was the law, the doctor, the judge of the judge. It was God, but also man. And man is flawed. Tithes were collected from people who couldn't even feed themselves. Confession wasn't therapy. It was transaction. You bared your soul not to be healed, but to be measured. And if your sins were too colorful, you'd be public property, whipped, humiliated, even banished. Speaking of banishment, imagine being declared untouchable. Not by caste, but by illness. You cough wrong, you bleed strangely, you disappear, not by magic, but by isolation. Leper colonies, quarantine huts, or worse, they wall you in and pray for your soul. Women had it worse, always. Your worth was determined by who owned you, your father, your husband, your sons. Marriage wasn't love, it was contract. Dowries were exchanged like livestock. And childbirth wasn't joy, it was a gamble played in silence. Blood, and the dark. Survive childbirth? Good. Now spend every day keeping the children alive while hiding your thoughts. Read too much? Suspicious. Laugh too loudly? Suspicious. Own a cat? Suspicious. Have dreams? Dangerous. And yet, stories survived. Oral traditions passed down through tired mouths around smoky fires. Myths, legends, warnings, hope. You sat with your back to the cold, listening to tales of knights and dragons, saints and sinners, forbidden romances and gods who walked the earth. You listened and believed because belief was the only medicine that cost nothing. You had dreams, even if you couldn't name them. You stared at the stars and thought of angels. You wished, even if only for a moment, that you had wings. You knew hunger, yes, but you also knew joy. The joy of a warm cup on a cold morning. The joy of surviving another day. The bells rang again. Night prayers. You knelt. You mumbled the Latin you didn't understand. You hoped it was enough. And as you climbed into bed, straw poking your skin, breath visible in the chill, you wondered if tomorrow would be your last. Not because of war, but because you lived in the Middle Ages, where death was not a question of if, but when. Morning again. You're alive, barely. That's a victory most in your time don't celebrate. No one claps for surviving the night. No one congratulates you for not freezing, not coughing blood, not being accused of theft or heresy or sleeping with the wrong person. But you're breathing, your joints ache, your spine crackles like old firewood as you stand. The chickens are screaming again. One is already gone, taken by something in the night. A fox, or maybe just hunger with 4 legs. Your first stop, the communal well. It's muddy today. A pig drowned in it last week. Nobody talks about it now. But you all drink carefully. A neighbor filters the water through old linen. You watch the brown drip. And you pretend it's clean. The illusion is important. Reality here is too heavy to carry before breakfast. Today is market day. You walk 6 miles on foot, holding your goods, eggs, onions, maybe a patch of cloth your wife spun while coughing blood. The road is mud and rocks, carved by carts and horses, slick with last night's rain. You don't wear shoes. Not really, just layers of leather. Wrapped and tied, never quite dry. The market smells like smoke, dung, fish, unwashed humanity, and urine. Someone's selling eels. Someone else is playing a lute with 3 strings, singing about Saint Cuthbert. A child begs with an empty wooden bowl. A soldier swats at him like a fly. Nobody looks twice. You trade 2 eggs for salt, a cloth scrap for a needle, a prayer for patience. But be careful what you say. Talk too freely, and someone might hear the devil in your voice. Heresy is not just blasphemy. It's anything that sounds new. Doubt is not tolerated. Wondering aloud why the stars move. Why the priests eat better than you. Why your neighbor's goat went dry the moment she crossed herself with the left hand. Dangerous thoughts. You remember the last one they took. A healer. An older woman. Knew herbs. Knew how to stop fevers. How to soothe burns. People trusted her until the priest said, "Witch." Then they stopped. Fear is louder than memory. She screamed when they tied her to the chair. Not because of the fire. That came later. She screamed when no one said anything. Not one voice. Not one protest. Silence kills. 2. Back home. You dig a shallow trench near your hut. It's for potatoes. Or maybe for something worse. Best to be prepared. Your son has had a fever for 3 days now. He's stopped speaking. His skin is blotchy. You've seen it before. Everyone has. The village healer gives you a poultice made of rosemary, ash, and goat milk. It smells like desperation. You press it to his head and whisper to God, even though you don't think he listens anymore. By evening, your son is breathing softer. His chest rattles. You watch him as you chew on raw turnips. You don't taste them. Your wife boils rags in a pot. She hasn't spoken since yesterday. Her eyes are glass. You worry she's breaking, piece by piece, but there's no word for depression. Only melancholy. And that's only if someone notices. Nobody does. Outside, wolves howl. Or is it something else? You don't care. Let them come. You're too tired to fight. If they eat you, at least someone gets a meal. And yet, you don't sleep. Not fully. Because tomorrow is taxes. And taxes don't mean coins. They mean grain, chickens, time. If you can't pay, the steward takes something. Anything. Once he took a daughter. Another time, someone's hand. You hide your better things. You lie. Everyone lies. It's how you survive. That night, you dream of rivers. Clear ones. Ones where the water is cold and pure and safe. You dream of fruit that doesn't rot. Of a sky with stars you can touch. Of silence without threat. Of warmth that doesn't burn. You wake before the sun again. The straw mat digs into your back. Your son is cooler now. Still breathing. You thank the saints, even the ones you don't remember. The steward arrives before noon. Fat, smug, red-faced. His horse steps through your cabbages. He doesn't apologize. He never does. He counts your sacks of barley. He sneers at your hen. He knocks over a pot. He says you're short. You offer your walking stick, carved from a tree your father planted. It's worth nothing, but he takes it. Then he spits. Just near, not on, you. A message. You bow your head. You do not curse him. You do not scream. You do not say what you want to say. Because that would be heresy. And you know where heresy leads. Later, your neighbor tells you someone drowned last week. They say he slipped on the bridge. But others whisper, suicide. He owed debts. His wife miscarried. His harvest failed. The priest refused to bury him in consecrated ground. His body was left near the woods. A fox was eating his hand. You listen. And you nod. Because what else can you do? You go home. You check the fire. You wipe your son's brow. You try not to cry when your wife finally speaks and only says, "It's too quiet." That night, the wind howls again. It smells like frost. Tomorrow it will be colder. The geese are flying lower. The clouds look heavy. Winter is coming sooner this year. You are not ready. You never are. But still, you breathe. And in the middle of this brutal, bitter, backward life, there is still a heartbeat. There is still something small and sacred and surviving. Even when no one claps. Even when no one remembers. Even when the world is built to forget you. You've made it through another night. But today isn't like the others. It starts with a bell, not from your village chapel, but a distant clanging, rolling across the fields like thunder. A warning. A noble is passing through. You don't see him, of course. Not right away. Just the horses. Big, armored, steaming in the morning cold. Their hooves crush the dirt road, break the silence, and kick up fear like dust. Men follow, men with spears. With hardened eyes and boots that don't sink in mud like yours. They walk like they own the land. Because they do. You bow your head when they pass. Everyone does. Even the dogs shrink. Behind them rolls a cart. Covered in velvet, embroidered with sigils you don't recognize. Inside is the noble. You hear a cough. Or maybe laughter. You don't know. You don't look. You never look directly. That's how you vanish. After they pass, the village exhales, slowly, as if the presence of wealth and power had stolen the very air. Someone spits into the dirt. A quiet act of defiance. But nobody speaks louder than that. Because rumor travels faster than horses. And punishment is always near. Later that day, the church doors open. You go, because not going is noticed. The priest talks about sin, about humility, about obedience. He warns against pride, against lust, against women who smile too much. His words crawl down the aisle like spiders, clinging to every ear. You sit on a wooden bench, knees aching, and stare at a stained glass window. It shows St. George slaying the dragon. You wonder if the dragon was just hungry. You wonder if it asked questions. 2. After the sermon, you confess. You make things up. Sometimes, safer that way. Say you coveted a neighbor's goose, or dreamed of eating meat twice in 1 week. Say you had a bad thought. Don't say the truth, never the truth. That you wish for more. That you hate the cold. That sometimes, you wonder if any of this matters. The priest listens. He nods. He gives you penance. He tells you God hears all. But you know who hears more, the steward, the bailiff, the bishop who never visits but always takes. As you leave, you see the noble's guards again. This time, they're laughing. One is tossing a loaf of bread back and forth like a game. It's white bread, the kind made from fine wheat flour. The kind you've never tasted. The crust glows golden in the sun. You haven't seen bread like that in years. They drop it in the mud. No one dares pick it up. You return home. Your wife is sewing. Your son, somehow, is better. He's still pale, but he speaks. His first words in days are, "Is it Sunday?" You nod. You smile. You almost cry. That afternoon, it rains. Not hard, just enough to soak the ground again. You stare at the sky and feel it drip from your nose. Rain means delay. It means mold. It means cold. You patch the roof. You step in a puddle inside your house. That night, there's a feast. Not for you. The noble is celebrating something. Maybe his daughter's betrothal. Maybe the death of an enemy. Maybe nothing. Nobles celebrate things you'll never understand. But you hear it. Music drifting across the valley like perfume. Fiddles, drums, laughter. You can almost picture it. Roasted meats, spiced wine, silk dresses sweeping stone floors. Candles flickering like stars. A hall full of warmth, noise, and safety. And then silence. Because even feasts end. The next morning, you find out a servant girl was whipped. No one says why. Some say she spilled wine. Others say she spoke. One man whispers it was neither. He won't say more. You plant your crops with your hands shaking. You think of your daughter. She's 12 now. Growing. Beautiful. And you wonder how much longer you can keep her hidden. Life in the Middle Ages isn't just brutal. It's careful. Every word measured. Every glance weighed. Every kindness a calculation. But in small places, hope still flickers. Your neighbor's wife gives birth. She screams for hours. The midwife comes. So does the healer. You wait outside, hands clenched. The husband paces, muttering prayers. Then, silence. Then a cry. Then 2 twins. Everyone smiles. For a moment, there's joy. Real joy. People bring bread. The priest even blesses them. One of the twins dies 3 days later. Nobody's surprised. But for 3 days, there was light. You remember that. You hold on to it. Because not everything in this world is pain. Sometimes, something survives. There's a new sound in the distance. Not church bells. Not hooves. Drums. Low and rhythmic. Like a heartbeat outside your body. You feel it through the earth before you hear it. You feel it in your teeth. You feel it in your fear. War is coming. It always is. No one is safe from it. Not lords in castles. Not peasants in fields. Not monks in stone abbeys. War does not knock. It kicks in the door. Eats your food. Burns your roof. And asks your name only after it's too late to answer. You hear rumors first. A border dispute. A tax rebellion. A noble insulted another. It doesn't matter. Reasons are for poets. What matters is the soldiers are coming. And they need bodies. Yours. Conscription means you must go. No training. No choice. A man with a ribbon and a sword tells you that the king has summoned brave men. You don't feel brave. You don't feel like a man. You feel like meat with legs. They give you a spear. It's cracked. It belonged to someone else. He didn't come back. They don't give you armor. Only nobles get that. You get a tunic with a painted crest you don't recognize. Your boots are still soaked from the marshes. Your hands shake when you hold the spear. The tip wobbles like a branch. You march. Day after day. Bread, if you're lucky. Ale, if you're not. Water from rivers, often brown. You sleep in dirt. You freeze. You learn that blisters can bleed. That lice don't care about sides. That a man can die from infection before he ever sees battle. Eventually, you arrive. It's not glorious. It's not even organized. It's mud, screaming, horses, steel, arrows from the sky. You don't see the enemy's face. You hear him, grunting, crying, praying in a language you don't understand. You don't hate him. You don't even know him. He's like you, dirty, scared, told to kill. Your first kill is by accident. A man rushes you. You flinch. Your spear moves. It enters his stomach. He stares at you. He holds your arm. He gurgles. He dies. You don't sleep that night. The next day, you kill again, this time on purpose. You learn how to survive. Don't run. Don't trust. Don't speak. Move fast. Stay low. Avoid horses. And don't look into anyone's eyes. You come back weeks later. Not a hero. Not whole. Just, not dead. Others weren't so lucky. You return to your village and find your mother gone. A fever, they say. The kind that starts with sweat and ends with silence. Your house smells different. More space. More ghosts. The healer gives you a charm, garlic and ash in a pouch. She says it keeps the plague away. You wear it like hope. But hope doesn't help when the real sickness comes. The Black Death. No warning. One day, a trader collapses at the market. Next day, 5 are dead. Then 15. Then it spreads like spilled ink. Boils, fever, blood, rot. People flee, but they carry the plague with them. Cities die in days. Villages vanish in a week. You board up your door. You light herbs. You pray. Your neighbor dies screaming. You can't bury him. There are too many. No one collects the dead anymore. They lie in the road. In beds. In churches. You pass them. You don't look. Even priests stop ringing bells. Even the brave stop speaking. No one touches each other. Children stop laughing. You hear of entire towns where no one remains. Fields overgrown. Windmills turning with no hands. Dogs wandering without names. And still, you live, but something in you changes. You become quieter. You forget songs. You stop remembering what the sky looked like before the smoke came. When the plague leaves, it doesn't apologize. It just disappears. It takes 1 in 3. Sometimes more. You stay. You don't know why. Maybe because someone has to. Maybe because you still hope. Even now, you walk through your village. New faces. New graves. A silence you don't trust. You plant again. You mend your roof again. You sharpen tools. You speak less. You cry less. Your son looks at you with tired eyes. But he looks. He's still here. One day, you find him carving a bird into wood. He whistles. It sounds wrong, but it's music. And you let yourself believe, for a moment, that maybe the worst is over. Time moves differently now. The world after plague is slower. Quieter. Not gentler, but older somehow, like it's been reminded of its bones. You walk the village path and notice how many roofs have caved in. Houses without owners. Fields returned to wildflowers. Fruit rotting where no one's left to pick it. But life, somehow, goes on. New families arrive. Orphans grow up and claim land their parents bled for. A boy with crooked teeth becomes the blacksmith. A girl who survived the fever becomes the midwife. Everyone becomes something they never planned to be. Even you. You were a farmer, then a soldier, then a mourner. Now, just someone who remembers. You remember the laughter of people who no longer breathe. The smell of soup on the fire. The old songs, sung off key in rooms now filled with dust. You remember each season by who it took. Spring, your mother. Summer, your friend. Autumn, your first daughter. Winter took everything else. You tend your fields with quiet hands. The soil doesn't talk back. It just listens, like it always has, like it always will. One day, a stranger visits. He wears different colors, speaks with strange turns of phrase. He offers coins for stories. Real ones. You tell him what you remember. The noble who passed through. The steward who stole your stick. The healer who vanished. You describe the fire. The feast you heard but never saw. The time you stood still while soldiers marched past and thought, if I don't move, maybe they won't. The stranger writes it all down. He thanks you. He leaves. You watch him go. And you wonder, will anyone believe it? That this was life. That it wasn't just dirt and pain and war, but breath. And sweat. And memory. That even in all that misery, People still whispered love, still carved birds into wood, still watched stars like they meant something. And maybe they did. Maybe they still do. You sit outside at dusk. No tasks left. No one waiting. Just the wind and your own heartbeat. A cowbell in the distance. The smell of damp hay. You tilt your head back. The sky is pink and bruised. The first star appears. You say nothing, because there's nothing left to say. History won't remember you. Not by name. Not by deed. You won no wars. You wrote no books. You built nothing but a life. But it was a life. Hard, small, forgettable, but real. And maybe that's enough. You close your eyes. Not to sleep. Just to rest. Just to hear what the world sounds like without fear. There's something else now. Stillness. Peace. Maybe. Or just absence. But you welcome it. The fire cracks softly behind you. The sun drops below the trees. And in that final breath of silence before true dark falls, you realize something. You didn't survive the Middle Ages. You endured them. And that's a different kind of strength.